small cap stocks that have really done well recently. I know you tipped one very recently, QIMC, which is in another energy stock that's in the field of hydrogen, and that actually 10x since you tipped it. So I hope that some people manage to pick that one up and load up on it, because it's a genuine 10x.
If you don't want to invest and you don't want to spend, then you should have gold. And whilst people will say that's an investment or have silver, it's because you're looking to hold and you're not actually looking to make an investment in something big or crazy. It's just making people aware that if they don't, they will be losing their value. Yeah.
I mean, I would argue that gold is not an investment. Gold is money, and exactly. You should measure everything else in terms of.
Welcome back to Acequisition. If any of our channel's 5 key verticals, stocks and shares, including commodities, acquisitions, including you yourself potentially taking part in hostile takeovers of public companies with us, profit maximization, asset protection, and tax minimization, sounds like everything you'd ever need in your finance journey, please don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and join our Discord chat room, linked in the description, so you can get in these plays and opportunities when we do.
The market forces will win in the end. We've had interest rates decreasing for more or less 30 years, but they've started an uptrend, and that's going to continue, in my opinion.
And that leads nicely on to inflation and what we can do to negate that and protect ourselves from that. Let's touch on things like uranium, for example, some commodities. I think that's trending at the moment because of all of the wars and fears of wars. UK trying to start a war with Russia. I'll play a little clip of Putin reacting to that now as well. But
I think Putin had said quite recently in the last week or two that he was considering restricting the export of uranium from Russia, and that's one of the things that's not been banned to import from Russia. Most things from Russia, they've got controls on them, and you're not allowed to buy anything from Russia. But uranium's not included in that because the Western governments who are putting these restrictions on Russia need uranium for their nuclear power plants. So, but Russia itself is not actually a big producer of uranium, but they are a big. They have facilities to enrich the uranium to make it suitable for using in nuclear power plants and so on. So Russia is the biggest exporter of enriched uranium, but most of the uranium is actually produced in Kazakhstan, and Canada is a big producer as well. So if you want to, there are no actual futures in uranium, but if you want to speculate in uranium, which I would suggest may be a decent idea, because it's nuclear energy is only going to expand. It's only going to grow as people decided they don't want to use carbon for energy. So uranium may prove to be a good investment. It's had a fair run up over the last 2 years. It did nothing for about 10 years, and then had a fair run up for the last couple of years. But there's a big Canadian public listed company called Cameco, and they're a huge company, $17.5 billion market cap. That is one way to play uranium. If you look at the share price, it moves very closely with the actual price of the underlying commodity. So you can easily play uranium with that stock. The other big one is actually a London listed stock called Kazatomprom. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but that's a Kazakhstani company. It's actually controlled by the Kazakhstan government. Again, they own lots of uranium mines in Kazakhstan, and again, they're a huge company with an almost £10 billion market cap. Both these stocks are off their all-time highs. If you like something alternative in the energy field, that may be worth a punt. As well as there are some others. There's the global X Uranium ETF. So if you want to have a combination of the various uranium stocks around the world, that is something that's worth looking at too. So yeah, I would say uranium is worth having a small part of anyone's portfolio in these kind of things. They're fairly safe. I think you can guarantee with what the world central banks are doing that we're going to have inflation for years to come, and it's definitely a hedge against inflation.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at the charts as well on these, and obviously on this channel, and the viewers are used to micro caps and small caps and penny stocks that can do big 50, 100%, 200% runs. But I think in the case of commodities, and you can definitely get these sort of returns. I mean, Cameco is still 50%. It's 50% off its highs. It's actually had quite a nice dip. So that's good to see.
Yeah, no, it's definitely maybe close to some kind of short-term bottom, but it's definitely worth a look. But talking about small cap stocks that have really done well recently. I know you tipped one very recently, QIMC, which is in another energy stock that's in the field of hydrogen, and not actually 10x since you tipped it. So I hope that some people manage to pick that one up and load up on it, because it's a genuine 10x. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of incredible. It's a new sector. People think hydrogen and what's green and what government's doing. Oh, green hydrogen. That's actually very expensive. That's $15 a kilogram. That doesn't sound expensive, but QIMC have found effectively natural hydrogen in Canada, and it's crazy. The cost is only $1 per kilogram as opposed to 10-15 of these competitors. The only company in the world that was comparable, which is what I compared in the last video, we were covering 3D Capital, but I covered one of their best risk reward investments, which was QIMC. And I stated that, the only competitor is gold hydrogen in Australia. Clearly, they have some. And the market cap of gold hydrogen was, 50 million to 100 million. And I was saying, well, with QIMC at 3 million market cap, fields where hydrogen naturally produces and actually repletes itself, which is just crazy. And obviously, this is just an unlimited gold mine, and that's why it's called white and gold hydrogen, because it's the purest and cleanest form. Centimeters under the ground, you could literally stick a stick or tube into the ground and actually fill a bag full of this stuff. And
well, then where is this, Hector?
This is in Quebec.
In Quebec.
And,
okay.
It's also very crazy because big names normally they come in later on to these things. 3D are normally first mover. Big companies come in after 3D Capital. In this case, QIMC, portfolio company of 3D, are effectively first mover to such a level that people like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, their VC firms have basically invested and said this is going to be the next thing that's going to basically power the whole of the West, maybe even the world. Hydrogen cars, data centers being, AI data centers needing this stuff. Governments will want it to be as clean as possible, and they're obviously doing carbon credits and things. So this is kind of the purest form of energy that the world's probably seen. It's already 10x, and I think there's
the market cap now over $30 million.
Yeah, so from 3 million to 30 million, they found sources that were 1,000 ppm, which I believe is some of the purest form of hydrogen that you can get. I mean, the green hydrogen that governments create isn't as pure as that, so I don't believe. So that's obviously huge news, and there's only a few companies and a few players in that at the moment, and QIMC is certainly one of them.
For anyone in the midst of that run up, the 10x run up that it's had in the last 2 or 3 months, you still think there's a good opportunity to get in there?
I think we've seen a brief pullback. I think you've got to keep looking at the only comparables. So gold hydrogen still got a much bigger market cap. I think there's certainly room to run to there, but they have teased in videos that I've done with them, and also they've been interviewed by other influencers, and effectively they've been mentioning conglomerates in Japan are reaching out to them. You can only imagine one of these guys is going to go, well, we're like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, we're just going to buy this company up. And if they want all of these claims and all these lands, and they've only explored probably a quarter, maybe half of the land as well, so there's so much more to explore and announce. So you can see that that's probably immediately highlighting a 2x.
And what are the use cases for this type of energy?
Well, hydrogen cars. I mean, Elon Musk said he'd never do hydrogen cars, but he just recently he announced that they're doing a hydrogen car.
Oh, really? I didn't see that one.
Put that on screen as well now.
Okay.
Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates are doing it, saying.
But that's going to be a long-term thing, because actually to have the infrastructure to fuel hydrogen-powered cars, I guess, is going to take years to set that up.
Yeah. And QIMC will need people to come in, like a Japanese conglomerate, like another conglomerate, to come in and with the technology to extract huge amounts. I mean, they seems like they're extracting good amounts at the moment, but you can see where, you know, a government's going to be like, well, we want all of this now, we need it quickly, and they will put everything they can into it.
And these huge data centers, that particularly with the growth of AI, that was something that we spoke about off camera, that you mentioned that that was another big use case for hydrogen energy.
Yeah, governments are going to be wanting to power these data centers, and they're going to want to do it in the cleanest way possible. I mean, governments are doing all these carbon credits because they almost don't really care the return on investment. They just want to be seen as doing an eco-friendly job. But in this case, that's a double benefit for someone who's sitting on a natural hydrogen mine.
The world is always going to need more energy, just natural progression of things, whether that be more, and the old forms of energy as well, are still very much in demand. I mean, I'm a big enthusiast of things like oil and natural gas, which I think should be a key part of everybody's portfolio as well, whether that be oil stocks or natural gas stocks, or trading in the physical commodity. I mean, if you look at the oil price at the moment, I think it's somewhere around about $70, but it's nowhere near its all-time high, despite the inflation that we've had in the last few years.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, what I was looking at when oil fell, it came very nicely down to its sort of 200 MA moving average on might be on a daily or a monthly time frame, but someone can check that. And it hasn't actually. This was a few months ago. It hasn't really bounced from there, but it's sort of tracked sideways, which is, over time, you can see how it's a good trading opportunity, even if you don't know the fundamentals behind a lot of things as well. So
and sooner or later, oil will take out its all-time high. It's only a question of time. A lot of people are of the opinion that the reason that it hasn't gone anywhere near its all-time high, despite the inflation, is that the US government took the decision to sell most of its strategic oil reserve, helped keep the price down, according to a lot of people. But that's mostly gone now, so they're probably going to want to replenish that at some point.
It's obviously quite amusing during COVID when it was almost a negative.
I think it did actually go negative. I think it went to negative $30 because people were concerned that there was going to be nowhere to store the oil. But some people made hundreds of millions of dollars from buying oil basically at a negative price, and finding ways to take delivery, or even just in the futures market. It was a great trade.
Well, exactly. It just sort of you looked at it and you just thought, well, this is a no. Same when the US dollar went to 1-to-1 with the pound. So it's like, when you see these things happen, don't just forget what people are saying. It's even worth a punt just on the fact of where it is. So
even in the short term, even if the fundamental direction is going the opposite direction, there are always going to be reactions. There's always going to be a counter trend move, which you can see when something gets really radically low or radically high, that it's worth having a punt on, even for the short term, if you like to trade. Now I've got one of my accounts is doing longer term trading in oil, which is interesting. But
and that's semi-automated, isn't it, as well? So that's
yes, exactly. My philosophy is to take the emotions out of trading completely, and if you have systems and design systems to basically make the trade themselves, you're taking the human decision out of it, which means you don't get distracted by your emotions, which is your biggest enemy in trading.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. And I think what we'll try and do as much as possible is do that for viewers on this channel, is when things like, oil goes to negative, or the dollar goes to 1-to-1 with the pound, we'll try and highlight these things as quickly as possible.
We'll try and get in there with the counter trend move, and put our own cash in the line as well.
Yeah, and post screenshots
tell people what we're actually doing, and show the trades that we're making.
Exactly.
And gold also has made a new all-time high.
I
think yesterday, after the Fed's rate decision, gold is now over $2,600. Announced, which is an all-time high. And again, it's a key part of any portfolio, and I think it should be a significant percentage of your liquidity. Gold. So it's definitely worth having. It's difficult to buy when it's always difficult to buy something when it's near an all-time high. But gold is money. Gold is the only true money. One fundamental that's changed in recent years for gold is the the loss of trust in the US dollar, because obviously what the US government has done in recent years is they've frozen the US dollar assets of governments like Russia. And so so any other government is now going to think, like the Chinese, for example, why would we hold anything in US dollars when it can be easily stolen from us? And the Europeans froze Russia's assets, and the Americans did the same. So why would any government hold funds in that currency? So it'll be a slow process for the US dollar to lose its reserve currency status, but it started, and with the rise of BRICS, that is a trend that's going to continue for sure. And all these governments are going to be holding a greater percentage of their reserves in gold, which they should have done anyway, because gold has been money for 5,000 years. If every single paper currency that's ever existed has gone back to less than the value of the paper that was printed on. The Bank of England stupidly sold most of their gold at the very bottom tick, the very low price of gold in I think it was the late 90s or early 2000s when gold was, I think it hit like $290 an ounce, and that's when the British government sold the gold to replace it with dollars and euros. So absolute insanity.
Yeah, it is crazy.
They do still have some, because I did visit the Bank of England more recently, and you can still see some of their 400 ounce bars of gold.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen a video recently where maybe they don't own it, but they certainly are the biggest storer of the gold. So they might own other countries' gold and they store it.
Other countries give the Bank of England the gold. It's a very stupid thing to do. I mean, who would trust the Bank of England with the gold? I mean, I think was it Venezuela that stored hundreds of millions of dollars worth of gold with the Bank of England, and the British government refused to give it back to them. There are other governments who the Bank of England stores gold for, but I think if I were head of state of a country with a gold reserve, I wouldn't be trusting it to the Bank of England.
Yeah, I mean, you might laugh at this, but obviously you've talked about evil governments. Maybe this is their grand scheme. Sell their gold when it's not trendy, take other people's in when the world ends, just keep it all and don't give it back to the other countries, which is crazy.
If it came down to it, and the British government had no money, and they've got the gold of other countries in their reserves, the governments have no morals. They will steal it. Keep in mind, governments have no money of their own. They only have what they steal or what they borrow. They steal money via taxes, and they borrow money on behalf of future taxpayers, which has got to be repaid out of future taxes. So governments in themselves have zero. They're only entities of theft.
I mean, if the world was ending, there's not really. They probably think, well, there's not really going to be a future to trade with this country anyway. They're not really going to come and launch a war against us when we have the strongest navy in the world. So but there you go. I think maybe this is a way to describe it is, if you don't want to invest and you don't want to spend, then you should have gold. And whilst people will say that's an investment or have silver, it's because you're looking to hold and you're not actually looking to make an investment in something big or crazy. It's just making people aware that if they don't, they will be losing their value. Yeah.
I mean, I would argue that gold is not an investment. Gold is money, and you should measure everything else in terms of, if you're looking, for example, how much is my house worth? Don't look at how much it's worth in terms of dollars, pounds. Look at how much it's worth in terms of ounces of gold, and then tell me if you've made money in your house in the last 30 years. The answer to that for most people will be no. It hasn't. It's barely moved, or it's worth less, depending when you bought the house.
Yeah, no, it's a storation of wealth, and has the benefit that it will go up and act as an investment.
Yeah, it's very eye-opening when you look at the prices of everything in terms of real money. If you look at the price of even whether it's a loaf of bread, whether it's eggs, whether it's the price of oil, look at the price in terms of ounces of gold. It's absolutely eye-opening, and we should probably get these figures and make a video about prices of things in gold. It's very, very interesting, which brings us on to silver.
The opportunity in silver, purely based on a fact of comparison between gold and silver. I mean, how many bars of gold could you buy? I mean, how many bars of silver could you buy with 1 bar of gold and in the past, and how much is that now?
Well, normally you would the historic ratio between gold and silver was about 20. So you could, it would take 20 ounces of silver to buy an ounce of gold. In recent years, it's closer to 90 now. In recent years, it's running between 80 and 90. So if that ratio were to come anywhere near where it used to be, you'd be looking at a silver price of well over $100. At the moment, it's around $30.
Yeah, so that's immediate 3x, and obviously at the same time,
Plus,
it's
it's
still
something
not
that
following the gold trend yet as well. So it's
yeah. I mean, the silver's got many industrial uses as well, which gold doesn't have. So it maybe trades more like an industrial metal than a monetary metal. But again, I think everybody should have, even in their home, like some silver coins. Go and buy. They're only $30 an ounce. Go and buy some silver coins and stash away. What if one day you wake up and there's an extended bank holiday for some because of some crisis or whatever, or there's a war? What are you going to trade with? So if you've got these silver coins that are worth $30 each, that's something you might save your life. You can go and buy food with that. You can trade them for other things. So I think everyone should have these in their home, because you a 1 ounce gold coin is worth $2,600 today. You're not going to go and buy food with that coin. Yeah, I think everybody should be conscious there could be a time where there's some cyber attack, or there's a war, your credit cards don't work, the banks are closed, you can't access your money, you can't access your cryptocurrency. What have you got then? What are you going to trade with? So to my mind, everyone should have at least a few hundred silver coins hidden away somewhere, just in case.
Could you go around with a little weighing scales and a purity thing and just go and spend your silver coins at the moment if you want?
As for me, I like the stock.
Order filled.